All right. Thank you. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. So my name is Ahmad Anwar Zainuddin from Computer Science Department KICT IIUM. So before we start, let's recite Surah Al-Fatihah to open this program. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amin. Okay, I'm so happy to be here with you today to talk about a subject that is so important to the progress and growth of our society, teaching and learning. So in this world, in a world that changes quickly, education has never been more important, but it also faces problems that have never been seen before. So I'm glad to have the chance to welcome you all to this discussion or meeting where we talk about this problem and more importantly, find new ways to solve the problem. Okay, this to solve these matters. And so education is the key to growing as a person, making society better and learning more. It gives people the tools they need to get around in a complicated world, deal with change and make a difference in our global community. However, the way we teach and learn is always changing. As a result of these technological advances, changes in society and unplanned global events. So we face new challenges and possibilities in teaching and learning. All right. So during this talk, we will not only talk about the problem we face, but also about the hopeful strategies, technologies, and ideas that are making education better. Together, we look at how we can change and adapt to make sure that the study of knowledge stay open, useful, and life changing. So without further ado, let's start talking about the teaching and learning, addressing current challenges. So we hope that this talk will help everyone to have a better, more educated future. Okay, so before I introduce this our respective speaker, Dr. Muhammad Ashraf. So I want to introduce our speaker. So he is an assistant professor in the Department of Nutrition Science at the Kuliah of Allied Health Science, International Islamic University Malaysia. And previously, he obtained his PhD in biomedical sciences from the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, RMIT University in Australia, and he hold a bachelor degree in medical laboratory technology from UITM and a master degree in health science from the same university. And also he possesses a postgraduate diploma in Islamic studies from IIUM. Okay, as an he as an advisor for Belia Harmony, a student society at IIM Kuantan. He is committed to community building and has received invitation to speak and advise on program organized by various student bodies within IIUM. He is certified as a content creator by the Ministry of Higher Education and serve as a facilitator for the My Digital Educators Moher program. Dr. Ashraf proficiency in digital technology and media utilization has been instrumental in developing a mobile application for COVID-19 management at IIM Kuantan. He has also been involved in the creation of an educational video on sexual health and pornographic addiction funded by IIM. And he has contributed to the publication of 2 ebooks on COVID-19 management and a healthy recipe book. Dr. Ashraf has conducted training session on ebook writing and the use of media for education, benefiting the IIM Kuantan campus, community, and various NGO. So I would like to welcome Dr. Ashraf Rostam, okay, for his talk. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Anwar, for the introduction. Once again, to all the professors, associate professors, doctors, lecturers, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera, insyaAllah. I am very much honored to be invited to this talk. And initially, the one who approached me is Dr. Asmarani. We met, as well as Dr. Anwar, we met in the Takrim Day, and we exchanged some thoughts, and then Dr. Asmarani invited me to share some of the experience. So I actually, initially when she invited me, I said, segan sikit lah bila nak to talk with the KICT people, the industries. At the same time, sometimes technology can be very disruptive. And in education, it is also being evolving, and somehow we always need to be adapted to the current challenges or the current innovations of technology, and how to integrate in our teaching, especially we are talking here as a perspective of academicians. So in this particular sharing session, what I'll be trying to do is, for the first part of the sharing session, I'll be showing and sharing a bit on the current challenges that we face with regards to technology and those that are related to us as an academic. And then I'll go into how I personally respond to this, and a bit on the sharing, and inshallah, hopefully we can exchange some thoughts and add to our knowledge, inshallah. Okay. So in one of the quite recent papers by Nature in 2021, it shows that, I think this is commonly everyone is aware that post-COVID era has changed a lot of the education landscape. And not only education, I think in most of the industries or other systems have been affected by COVID. We see there is a drastic change in the use of internet as well as all online resources in education. So this has somehow forced everyone to utilize this technology. And it does not only push in education, but this is actually a slide that I presented to our department when we did our curriculum review, whereby we think that is time to introduce a bit more on the elements of digital health in our dietetics course. So if you see this paper, this is a 2020 paper, whereby it records on how COVID-19 pushes healthcare into embracing digital technology. Actually, the efforts towards digitalization has always been there, but somehow COVID-19 has pushed it into we can see, if you show the graph of the implementation of technology, it is more a significant increase or incline in the use of digital technology into healthcare. So we somehow require nature to push the use of digital. And if we contemplate on our experience as a researcher, I still remember before COVID, we had the hybrid teaching, the flipped classroom, 70-30% and so on. But somehow we still couldn't naturally use digital technology in our education, for example, online learning and so on. But somehow COVID-19 came, and now it has no longer become an emergency teaching and learning. We used to call it ERTL, but somehow nowadays it has been embraced, and it has actually become one of the useful tools to conduct these kind of sessions, education classes and so on. And somehow people have been very comfortable with online technology that it kind of becomes sometimes a necessity. People will be asking whether is there online session and so on. Now, because of this push of the use of technology, we really need to also see whether there is some chances that the disruptive digital disruption of certain areas or certain fields. I'd like to share this because this is in our field. We are teaching students to become dietitians, and dietitians, one of the main roles is to consult and provide precision healthcare. So we consult the patients. Usually we would take their record of the diet, for example. That's one of the things. We record their diet, and then we calculate what would be the best diet catered for these people. So what happens if somehow AI the question would be, can AI replace the dietitians and so on? So this is a paper from Journal of Human Nutrition and Dietetics, one of an established journal on this in this area. So it asks this question: are we ready on the integration of digital technology in dietetics? Even the WHO has already prepared a policy on the global strategy on digital health, which is the 2025 paper to address the needs of digital technology. We need to embrace it. And as I mentioned earlier, COVID-19 came and everything pushes this forward even faster. This is an example from a university that I studied previously in Melbourne, RMIT University. They have offered courses in digital health. So you can see this is an example. So this person is in another setting, another building, but then you can see another people in a lecture setting whereby they can actually monitor. For example, they can monitor the health criteria of this person remotely. So if you have ever watched let's say an operation theater, operation room, there are instances where the surgeon would require, they do not directly cut open or perform surgery onto the patient. They use robots to translate their movement towards that particular patient. So but that happens within a same room. But once technology is ready, the communication is faster, then we might not require a local surgeon to perform surgery. Let's say in other instances, we might need to have lesser numbers of, say, surgeons. They can be in anywhere in the world, but then they can address or they can treat patients all over the world. So think of how that can disrupt the whole industry of healthcare. That's just one example, but there are numerous other examples, which shows that we need to be alert and be ready, so that us as healthcare workers, we need to always be relevant in this industry. Now, this is an example Israeli. I'm not supporting Israel, obviously, but just these are from one of what I looked at. Among those countries that are really using digital health, digital technology, integrating in quite a lot of aspects or domains in the digital health is Israel. So from the very screening and so data analysis, data keeping and so on, how they analyze the results and so on, everything, they integrate it well. So we should also be moving towards that. Now that is talking about in the healthcare setting. What about in education as lecturers? I think I've introduced this, that digital technology, we have been, due to COVID, we adopted the ERTL, Emergency Remote Teaching and Learning. But somehow maybe not, this is a paper in Thailand, our neighbor, quite a recent paper, 2023 paper, which looked at it's a retrospective study looking at how the teachers assess the situation of the students when they did the ERTL during COVID. Now, this is a qualitative study whereby they saw that there are some opportunities, good effects of online learning, but at the same time, there's a lot of negative impacts of online learning. So some of it, they saw there's a learning loss. Amongst those negative effects is that it showed a negative influence on the students' academic growth. Particularly, they saw that there's no commitment to online learning. Among the factors that contributed to this is the students did not have, they had limitation with using the devices, and the surrounding of the environment of the house is not well suited for learning. And others, among those courses or subjects that were substantially being affected includes those that require language skill acquisition, mathematics, calculation, and so on. So these are among those that were affected. And teachers also saw a loss of positive attitudes. Absenteeism is being seen. They lost mood, no motivation. They did not have the kind of motivation to ask questions due to several factors, and so on. Somehow, the online teaching were sort of not ideal in the sense of primary school and secondary school setting. So these were among the challenges that were faced during those times of COVID. Now, another earlier study, this is pre-COVID. So I'll have to balance this, the information. Now, this is a study in Malaysia, looking back to our country. In 2015, this is in IPT, in the higher education. They have shown that educational technology actually enhances teaching practices. It enhances students' performance. They showed that it was easy to interact with students, diversifying learning activity, fun learning environment. Students actually were more focused during the sessions, easy to deliver materials. So you can actually, there's a balance of effects of technology. And these are dependent on the type of subject, the type of education, and the target of the people who are being taught at that particular setting. So, and this is obviously pre-COVID. It shows that because it's not 100% online and so on. So it would be, there would be other factors also contributing, but we can actually see that if the big question is, or the big point is, are we equipped with the appropriate knowledge to use technology? So are we always alert with what are the best technologies suited to certain conditions, certain people, and so on? What are their preferences? So are we always putting our students as the person for our orientation of how we approach education? So that might be what we can learn from this particular situations. So yeah, when properly integrated, the use of technology, online teaching, and so on can be a very powerful tool. And we can actually see this through the implementation of micro-credentials. It has been aggressively, not aggressively, maybe not in Malaysia, but it has been used in higher education in other countries as well, maybe, for example, in the US, and so on. The use of micro-credentials, online resources to upgrade our skills and competency in education. So this is a 2023 paper. So it reviews the use of micro-credentials in higher education. Now, this is a bit technical, but I will show you some of the take points from this. This is from HoloIQ. This is a website looking at the economic impacts. And in this particular article, they looked at the impact or how people in the US spend their money on education. Now, in this particular chart, you can see that, well, 2.2 trillion is being spent on post-secondary. This includes higher education, universities, degree, and so on. Those people in the workforce, in companies and industries, they spend and send their workers, their staffs to continue or to add to their knowledge through online learning and so on. And this is through online degrees, 36 billion industry. And this is a a rising industry. Alternative or micro credentials, 10 billion worth of industry, whereby in this article also they showed that there's an increase in the demand of micro credentials as an accepted form of addition to a person's knowledge as well as skills. So this is a visual representation of the degrees that is available in terms of the credit hours. So we don't have associate degrees, but in Malaysia we do have bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. Our students learn about 120 to 130 credit hours. Ours dietetics 141 credit hours. So this would be a very kind of a simple representation of the classes and number of hours. This is master's degree. What in this article mentioned that the degrees that we offer can be considered as a bundle of carefully selected integrated curriculum, and we are being monitored by the MQA. If we follow through how we develop our programs, we have the board of advisors looking at what the industry needs and so on. And finally, we as the university, we are the ones who dictate whatever is required by the industry. But somehow the argument is that somehow everything is just from the university. It does not necessarily be accurate for each particular industry or those people in the area. And this is what actually causes a rise in micro credentials. So this is, if you still can see the background, it shows this is a comparison of where the micro credentials appear. So for example, the colors here is still green. This is in terms of the number of credit hours in comparison to the amount of a normal degree. You can still see a silhouette in gray color, comparing to what is existing in bachelor's degree and how the time being offered by micro credentials, but they are still accepted by certain companies and maybe industries. For example, like Google themselves, they offered Google certificates, which are actually equivalent to a 4-year degree, but the amount of hours spent is this colored box. So it's not a 4-year degree, but the ones, the skills that they learn is exclusive and already sufficient for that particular workforce. And we can also see there's a lot of this happening. So Udemy is also offering master's degree, but very subspecialized, only several hours, but are accepted by the industry or certain companies and so on. Similar to associate degree, which we don't have in Malaysia. It's more than diploma, but lesser than degree. So this is actually what's happening in the world. Maybe Malaysia, we don't have that seamless integration of micro-credentials in the higher education, but somehow in other countries, they are already seeing this, and the industries are already accepted. The thing that would scare us is that would one day we've read articles saying this, will one day higher education be relevant in the country if the people can actually be totally liberal of choosing the certificates through these kind of micro-credentials? And some micro-credentials are very well established. And one of the reasons we show that this is something very crucial is because there's a lot of universities, top universities, for example, Harvard, Oxford, that also are offering micro-credentials. It does not necessarily become a replacement of the degree, but obviously at the moment it's to complement an alternative, an addition to whatever is being offered. So, and Alhamdulillah also in IIUM, we are also trying to embrace it. We've seen steps under Prof. Mira Katwi is CPD, but if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Shamsul Bahrain is the one who's spearheading the micro-credential. So are we ready for this? So these are also the challenges. Now, another challenge is that we can see that those that support the use of kind of not independent learning, but the use of online educational resources, videos, for example, YouTube, and now being on the rise is TikTok, being used as not academic, but information and knowledge sharing, it does show that it is essential to provide a substantive knowledge in certain areas. For example, this is a study in, I think it's a recent paper looking at the use of YouTube to increase the awareness on human papilloma virus cancers. This is a very important to prevent those cancers in women and so on. So it shows that there's an increase in the knowledge of those who just watch the YouTube videos. And nevertheless, when this happens, there is a concern of the validity of the knowledge. Who is sharing this knowledge? And are they actually, I mean, not having authority, but do they have the correct discipline to share the knowledge? Do they have certain other agenda which actually would tarnish or the purity of the knowledge itself? Because why? Because we can see that there is people who we call the opinion leaders nowadays, or the term that is being used are social media influencers. Somehow they influence the behavior. This is a good paper that we can actually read on a recent paper 2023 on the effect of social media influencers on teenagers' behaviors. And so the question here, I can see in the chat box, kalau boleh some engagement, I'd like to ask and get some thoughts. What do you think is the two traits that motivates teens to follow an influencer? Say a person likes or subscribes or becomes a community of that influencer. Say in Malaysia, one of the most now quite influenced it is Khairul Aming. He is his niche is cooking. He makes sambal every day. Now this is what quite recent. He's targeting to sell 100,000 units of sambal per day in a live TikTok session, and he has been successfully doing that for a couple of days. 100,000 sambal per day through TikTok, and he's getting millions of revenue from this. Now he has established a great following for about eight years until now. He is actually his background is in I think it's oil and gas. Studied overseas, but people follow him. So the question is, what motivates teens to follow? Can I get some opinions in the chat box? Okay, excellent personality, Dr. Raini Hassan mentioned. Yeah, and ada lagi? Can I get some thoughts? So Dr. Raini said excellent personality would be one of the traits that would a teen would follow the influencer. Any more? Ada lagi? Anything? There's a tak ada betul salah, tak ada ni eh. So I just want to see humble. Okay, thank you, Dr. Madiha. Humble. Maybe get some two answers before we see some of the findings from this particular paper. Catchy content. Dr. Nurul Nuha. Dr. Asmarani mentioned consistency. Yeah, okay. So these are all true. And I also am a content creator, alhamdulillah. I'll show you later on. So the ones that has been shown in the paper is that one of it is trustworthiness. That's a very important trait. The person is genuine. Now, people nowadays, one of the reasons why there's a rise in TikTok, if you follow TikTok from the very beginning, one of the importance or the uniqueness of TikTok is that people showcase a very raw lifestyle. In comparison to YouTube, YouTube is very polished with regards to technical. The videos are high resolution, good lighting, audio, and so on. But TikTok is just a very humble setting. They just record it. If you can actually give a line, a trademark of TikTok, you can say everyone can create, because you just require a handphone, take a video, and then if you have a unique content that nobody maybe haven't experienced, your life, for example, you are living somewhere in the desert and so on. If you are sharing those things, people follow you. even though the quality of the video is not as good. The more vulnerable you are, the more transparent you are, people will follow, because somehow the teens have lost trust in people. They see that all this in the media are fake. So the things that we are sharing are fake. It's more too polished. Sometimes they lost trust. So they are moving towards, if the content shows kind of you show your weaknesses, they somehow see that this is the real people and the content is real. The other thing is originality. So the reasons people click, if that content is original, you don't copy other people, because we want to follow somebody who somehow can offer a unique experience. We might be living in a common world. Even there are people, I follow somebody who is a penggali kubur English, undertaker, of thousands of followers. There are people who are working in the pengutik sampah, what would be the in English? They also have thousands of followers because they share their contents. We want to know their life experience. What are the challenges? So people, because the teens, they really want to learn, and these people also become influencers. Now, the major concern is that, what are they teaching us? What are they teaching the teenagers and so on? And some even share knowledge that shouldn't be shared, but knowledge that are misinformed. They think that they can, for example, in the medical line, they are sharing about supplements, diets that are not scientifically being proven. That would be some of the concerns of us. And I think that would be something also we as the academics, people as the researchers, we need to contemplate on this and reflect upon it, because everyone is online most of the time in their daily life, maybe more than they are engaging in classes with their lecturers and so on. So there somehow is an urgency for us to also at least try and be involved in this so-called the social media, what do you call that? It's a system or situation or scenario. Now, that's one challenge. Another challenge is students have different styles of learning, and be it, and this is relevant to every one of us, even us. We have this is a very basic kind of representation of the categories of how people prefer to learn. There's visual people who learn by seeing, auditory learn by hearing, read or write, they prefer reading, kinesthetic, they want practical, and so on. It's not necessarily that they choose one over the other, but a higher preference of certain styles of learning. And I'm just promoting, this is quite recent. I got this email 2 days ago by CPD. Who's this? Prof. Dr. Fauzia would be talking about this, something that we always should be equipped. But in this session, what I'm trying to put again on the table is that, are we also addressing this? Are we continuously trying to address what we need with regards to our students' learning style? So those are all the challenges. Now, the question is, as an academician, how do you respond to all of this? So this is the question that I gave to myself, I asked to myself. And how I answered it is through this. I try to summarize, this is kind of the Venn diagram of how I see an interactive and inclusive teaching, which goes beyond just inside the classroom, whereby I do believe that when I still remember when I received the offer letter by IIUM, it says that you are a murabbi. So I asked my friends from other universities, they don't have such thing. If they are a lecturer, as a professor, they are just lecturer. It's kind of like you just lecture, cukup. I mean, not necessarily like that, but somehow if you look at it very simplistic way, you can say we in the IUM somehow is being given a larger or heavier responsibility to become a murabi. So which covers the growth of the student, akhlaq, behavior, and so on. And I believe, I still remember Tan Sri Zul mentioned about being the garden of knowledge. Other people should also be able to at least see the garden, smell the roses, and so on. So our community should also be, at least feel whatever we're doing in this. Even in Malay we say, panggil apa lupa pula, what we call the universities. Whatever we have in the university, they also should feel the benefit. Menara Gading, so in universities. Now, this is how my personal take. What suits an interactive and inclusive teaching? Inclusive should include the social media community. The Malays call it a netizen. And inclusive, with regards to it during our classrooms, we also need to consider those students who are being quarantined, especially this happens during the ERTL. But post ERTL, when we no longer have ERTL, we had students flood victims. This is particularly in Pahang. And they were not, necessarily in the house being flooded, but they couldn't go out from their houses. So they were trapped, but they still can join classes. So they asked me whether can they join online? And yes, but they need to be inclusive. At the same time, we need to cater for the most optimal experience for a hybrid teaching. I'll cover that later on. And inclusive also means catering for the different learning preferences and implementing Islamic worldview in teaching. This would be inclusive and inclusive teaching. Prof. Mira is together in this classroom. I dah jadi takut dah. They refer themselves to COVID batch. Okay. And then what is meant by interactive? The students nowadays, when we looked at the behaviors of teens, they would want something that would be more interactive. I use those that are live slide annotation. For example, what I'm using now in classrooms, they kind of have a very short attention span, the students. In average, those days, students have attention span of 45 minutes. But somehow in the times of TikTok and so on, they become more lesser in terms of their attention time spent. So these are things that are more engaging. If you if you are well versed with social media, among the things that all the influencers are trying to do is the more visual kind of use actually can sustain the longer time of the watch time. And watch time actually translate into well, they can say money, because that actually would affect the algorithm. If a person stays longer their watch time longer on one video, it shows it's important. Then the AI or the machine learning translates this into pushing it to contents. And if you are talking in the TikTok realms, it will go into the FYP category. FYP means for your page or for you page. So it goes to people, all those account holders that are relevant towards those kind of contents. So engaging contents is important. So visual is one of those hooks to engage people. Canva is an interesting tool. One of the taglines of Canva is everyone can design. I remember this one because I watched the one clip of when they introduced the new elements in Canva. So they said that Canva, for Canva, everyone can design. And Canva is also a disruptive technology. They are hitting or somehow affecting those designers in certain ways. Padlet, the use of quality audio and visuals is very important. The use of any kind of tool, Jamboard, Mentimeter, looking at student feedbacks and asking about their expectations. So I think, to me, these are the things that makes a classroom interactive. Among those that I consistently use is this. I connect my MacBook with the projector, and then at the same time, my iPad here is connected to the, should tak nampak. I'll just get rid of the virtual background. Sekejap. Yeah, so the my iPad is connected to the computer, and then I can annotate because our courses requires calculation and so on. So we can do this, showing highlighting the equipments and everything. So for example, when describing genetic structure, I can actually show chromosomes, calculating allele frequency. I don't think I can go into too much detail, but do some calculations on this screen. So if we are required to do hybrid teaching, we can actually do this also. The students online can see, hopefully they can actually get the best contents, similar experience to the ones who are face-to-face. And at the same time, some of the technologies that we can get from using Apple products, I'm not an ambassador, but I kind of like them to use these products, is using this live video. So for example, this is my phone, is connected to the keynote actually. So if we take this and say, for example, you want to talk about this food label, sorry. This is a okay. And then we want to study about the food labeling. I'm not sure, but I hope you can actually see a bit on the food label. So it says here bahan, the ingredients in it. Bahan dia, the first is gula. So if this is some information that you can actually get. The first, it is a rule for food labeling. The first in the list of bahan or ingredients is the one paling tinggi, the highest amount in any kind of product. So kalau it says a juice limau, juice orange, and so on. But the first thing is gula, then it's entirely gula. Unless it says limau extract, then that is actually the dominant or the majority of the part. For example, here memang gula paling tinggi inside this product. Or say this one, you want to see this 3-in-1 cocoa powder. Okay lah. Then this is a cocoa chocolate, a chocolate 3-in-1. So dia paling tinggi is cocoa powder, not gula, which is relatively okay lah. So that would be the dominant. That is the ruling of food labeling. Okay. So these are the things that you can actually do in class. So students can see more clearly if you are in a larger audience and so on. More interactive. And so at the same time, I also utilize any other resources. We don't have the capacity to create new apps and so on, but whatever apps that we have, I think we should be using to adapt these technologies for our students. So for example, I use this Padlets, whereby this is one of the subjects during that time. We are looking at the foods in the Quran. We divided the students into different groups and then asked them, looking at the translation of the Quran, what would be some of the foods that are being mentioned in the Quran. So they listed some of those. These are real-time, collaborative work they discussed, and then the other students can check, and then they can actually look from other resources and discuss on why is that particular food, what are the contents, are they good food, and so on. So I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's a very good way to do real-time collaborative work. And these are Mentimeter, I think you might be aware of, but it's a very important tool because of its anonymity. I start my class, for example, this is the RPID, stands for Research Projects in Dietetics. It's our form of our subject for FYP, final year project, but we call it RPID because it's in the third year. Our fourth year students go to internship practical, so we need to do this third year. Now, I always ask them, okay, now what are your expectations? So anonymously, they will be saying macam susah je, banyak, challenging. The ones that are in the middle will be the ones yang paling banyak, the highest amount. More than one student is writing the same thing. So here it shows that 25 students sending their their expectation, one word to describe RPID. So then I can actually fine tune my my teaching during that day. So so that they know that we are actually concerned with their expectations. So this is one of the ways. If you think that the students might not be that they cannot share if it's not anonymous. Ni bahasa-bahasa student lah, takut and so on. So tak apalah, the most important is that we actually understand the students. Inclusive also consider different styles. I always use the resources from YouTube. They watch videos and then they analyze, and then the students would then I don't, because there's videos tak sempat. What are the criteria of the good poster? We do use Jamboard, and the students first discuss among themselves and then categorize. So from the video, they take some points. This is a Jamboard. Jamboard is a digital translation or of the notepad that we often use. So it's a traditional notepad, which I always enjoy. There's a lot of kinesthetic there, but if it's in the digital form, so they can paste whatever they believe they learn from the video. So it says concise explanation, simple, and then they paste it first, and then they categorize. So this refers to compliance, to the rules of the organizer. These falls under clear, catchy posters, and then clutter-free. So now they can actually organize whatever they've learned from that video. So we are catering to several skills in that particular session. I also believe that as a researcher, we should go beyond the classroom. So I got the opportunity to share some of the knowledge with the use of Canva. And we, as the IIUM community, educators are given privilege to access the educator version, which is the premium version, similar to those who need to pay. The pro version. So educator and pro is quite the same. I've checked. And whatever features that you can access from the pro version, which is a paid version, you can also access those as an educator account. You can upgrade to as educator account. Alhamdulillah, the kuliah sent me to join the educator at VLE. This was in 2021, whereby those who passed through that particular program was certified, got this certification, and then the following year they invited me to become a part of the facilitators. Those that spearhead this was the team from USM, if I still remember, and as well as UTM. So alhamdulillah, I learned a lot and from this program. And then so this is what I mentioned and informed earlier about inclusive. We need to always be prepared with the best technology for hybrid classes. So this is an example. So I used the webcam, which is attached to a tripod. This is our department's tools. So we bought this for the teaching in our department. So I attach it to a webcam so that the students online can be at eye level. If, say, we are depending on this laptop's webcam, so you will be seeing my belt here. Or maybe if it's slanted, it's a very distorted image, which wouldn't be, it's funny and then it's just not good. So it needs to be eye length, eye level, so that it's similar to I'm talking to the students. We need to understand that they are in a different setting, so they need to feel very much welcome in that class. Now, I use my AirPods. Only one, a single pair. The other ear is for the students in the classroom. Another ear is for my student during that time. So this one lakonan je lah waktu ni. I had to do to demonstrate what I did from the previous classes. Masa ni memang I asked the students, and actually you can see my students also enjoy using iPads. You can see majority of students they like to use iPads. I think this would be quite similar to in other courses also. So we can see the behaviors of the students. I asked them for some testimonial were they okay? And Alhamdulillah, they pretty much felt connected during those sessions. So webcam, eye level for better perspective, the Apple iPod, so that the sound that they are receiving is closer. So if I'm relying on the MacBook Air here, it might be less efficient. So here is a better quality audio. So at the same time, I can actually also listen to any concerns from the students. Yeah, this is one of the ways that I think to upgrade and enhance the teaching for our students during hybrid classes. And then I also believe that education beyond the classroom is important. And I tried YouTube. Here, my niche was about health, education, and faith. I've already stopped posting videos to YouTube. I think it's already about 6 months. The last video was also a recycled video from TikTok. I was serious 1 year ago with YouTube, but I stopped because YouTube requires a bit more investment in with regards to time and the use of kind of audio, lighting, and so on. It's a bit different. As I mentioned, it's a more polished kind of content. So I don't think I have that luxury. So I went into TikTok, changed a bit of the niche, more to self-development, because I am somebody who enjoy reading personal development books. I've always been involved since the student activism in high school, in university, and so on. So personal development has been always my my passion. So I just shared all this knowledge, and somehow I received quite a following. This is 46,000 followers. Alhamdulillah, by today would have been increased to 50, I think somewhere 51,000. And I've got many DMs. I've also been invited for talks by several parties. For example, KWSP called me, and so on. So from TikTok, which and people PM private message me saying that they really enjoyed my content. It actually solved a lot of problems in their life, and that's really important. One of the things that I learned in social media, when you're talking, as what I showed earlier about the paper showing why the teens follow influencers, is because they actually talk to the audience. And if you follow, say, YouTube guru or social media influencer guru, they will also always say that whenever you're talking in the camera, to the camera, you're not talking to the camera, you're not talking alone. Always imagine that you are talking to the target audience. In marketing, if you learn about marketing, you are never doing any marketing if you just saying things to a broad audience. You must be imagining who are the people, what are the problems that you are solving. They call it pinpoints that you want to solve, and so on. So building or creating that narrative is actually needs some work, especially if you're making a 2-minute video or 3 minutes video. But once you get used to it, you can actually get your niche and actually get a substantive following. People actually would follow because they learn something very relevant. And I think this can actually be in all sorts of niche. We've seen niche on technology, if you want to talk about AI and so on, but it needs to be fulfilling certain criteria, which I wouldn't be able to share in this very short session. But there's a lot of things that I learned, but I believe we as academicians, we can try and be part of so-called influencers. I mean, the correct term that has been used previously, a more kind of academic term, is opinion leaders. Previously, opinion leaders are in the forms of maybe in newspapers and so on. But nowadays, opinion leaders have been the social media influencers. What we are worried is that if these people are those people who do not have proper education, and that's why if you follow the TikTok award just recently, the Cairo Amin that I mentioned to you, he learned what was that? He learned oil and gas in overseas, but he wanted to do something else. He wanted to do business, but what was his advice to the youngsters? He said, habiskan belajar. He reminded the youngsters, habiskan belajar, university, and so on, because there's a lot of cases that students just want to be a TikToker, social media influencer, because they can get money. There's a lot of ways to get money from TikTok, from YouTube, the monetization scheme, becoming affiliate marketing. I've experienced that, and dapatlah juga monetization from the YouTube, as well as TikTok. You can do affiliate programs, so many things. And that's why they want to do this. But they want to stop learning in universities because they think that, oh, you have degree, but you don't get jobs. Why are you investing in something 4 years, having degree, and then you become a Grab driver? It's better to become a TikToker, establish your audience, get followers, and then that 4 years makes more money. So they lost what is education and so on. So I think among the things that we can actually change and give impact is go into this social media, get some following, express our thoughts and minds, and so on. So I've got 2 minutes more. Yeah, this is another avenue. I am an activist for the Malaysians Against Pornography, an NGO throughout Malaysia. I am actively with the Pahang chapter. Most of our team is from IUM. And this is a copyright that we made, a very basic use of Canva to make and create this educational video. I think there's not much of not interactive, these kind of what you call this, animated videos for pornography addiction and so on. We are trying to do that, and hopefully, because when we first got our TikTok account for this MAP, Malaysians Against Pornography, we had a lot of questions. And the videos on pornography addiction are high views because these are the issues and concerns of the youngsters. And we got really scary questions and sharing, but in the social media, in the private message. And I also personally get those things and during my talks. But that's why we are also trying to invest our time into the social media. I think that's all. I'll thank you so much. I hope that we can. This is my personal view. This is what I did, and hopefully it can add to whatever that you all have applied in your day-to-day as a lecturer, inshallah. Thank you so much. I'll pass back to Dr. Anwar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ashraf. So before we end, maybe we can have some session for question. Anyone who have any question? Or you can post in the chat box.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay.
I'm just
Sorry, I
reading.
cannot turn on the video. I'm not really feeling well, but hopefully it's clear. Yeah, I just want to ask Dr. Ashraf. We received actually some complaint from the student that some lecturers is using TikTok for teaching, which I don't think that should be a problem, but apparently the numbers of students that raise the concern is kind of increasing every semester. So how do we put how do we guide the lecturers when they want to use TikTok? What kind of criteria of content that can be included in the class? Because I think there are certain criteria, right? It cannot be just all contents can be shared, isn't it? So from your perspective, really appreciate if you can share your thoughts with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Mira. My point of view is that first, the TikTok is a platform. The content would make it different. Previously, we have been using YouTube quite exhaustively because YouTube, yes, there's a mix of pure education. There's a mix as well as pure entertainment, and there's a mix of edutainment of bridging the both of the two. And sometimes the platform, the accounts are from, for example, established organizations. There's even from hospitals, NGOs, researchers. Even in the UKs they have I can't remember, but like the similar for the Majlis Professor Negara, but their content is suitable even for the primary school and secondary school. I've always wondered why we in Malaysia we still not having to that level yet, but it shows that they are also using the content. But the thing, us as the end user, we are the ones who are the gatekeepers. The reason why it's different for an independent way of learning, as comparison to what they get from the class, is we as those, inshallah, the learned, we have gone through the discipline of identifying what will be authentic, what will be the suitable information, who are the correct resources. Then we filter out the contents. If it's, we have somehow no issues with YouTube, but somehow if it's TikTok, it also comes with some stigma and so on. I'm not sure that particular student what type of content they are mentioning, but to me personally, if that TikTok is from an established account, they can use it. But if it's also if it's from just somebody who is an influencer, they are a social critique or so on, it could be okay. It depends on what the source is being used. So I think that is the issue. If you are if they are concerned because of the use of TikTok, because previously TikTok is not tarnished, but it's being seen as a place where people dance and so on. Previously, yes, when their algorithm is mostly pushing for short form content, 12, 15 to 20 minutes. But nowadays, if you see, it is shifting to a longer form content. Sometimes if you have an account for TikTok, they even say that they are pushing. What are the reasons? Is because now TikTok, they want to compete with YouTube. Longer form content means they can put advertisement, they can actually be an avenue for marketing products. So there's a that financial kind of strategy there. So they would want to become YouTube. So they want to beat them, but their content is a vertical content. So somehow those contents that are totally entertainment, joget-joget and so on, it's not being pushed, but more being diluted. Bigger form content is coming in, and hopefully kita pun boleh masukkan to make it more better for the people, because the technology is there, but how do we cannot sucikan lah, Islamizasi pun tak boleh, but somehow how do we kind of provide some alternatives? That's my personal point of view, Prof. Mira.
Okay, Dr. Ashraf. Okay, we have a question from meeting chat from Dr. Mazia. Okay, the question is, not all students can afford iPad. How do
Okay.
you cater this student?
Okay. Dr. Oh, ada somebody from YouTube. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Can I just skim through because of the knowledge? Oh, Alhamdulillah. Yeah. It's not entirely my students use iPad. I did not suggest the use of iPad. My lectures do not require them having iPads. I was the one using iPad, but somehow they prefer to use iPad for their personal preference. So to me, they do not require to have iPads. So I have never asked them to use iPad. So I personally use iPad to do this annotation and so on. For the Jamboard and so on, they don't require iPad. They can those were typed, and they can use just key in the words. But if you see writing, those might be from those people who had iPad. So it's a mixture of both. They are not required. I have never asked them to buy or use iPad. But my own teaching, my lectures, I personally use iPad. So no, if you're asking how do I cater for these students, they do not require the use of iPads.
Okay, next question from Dr. Nurul Nuha. Boleh share the link to the animation video about the porn issue?
So I'll pass it to Dr. Asmarani, and then she can share it.
Okay, so anyone who have any question? Okay, my last question, Dr. Ashraf. How to become a content creator in social media? Any tip and tricks?
Okay. In addition to whatever I've mentioned earlier, based on that paper, for me personally, I think we need to try. You need to have one niche. People will invest on subscribing if they understand what actually is your area, or somehow we can say expertise, but in the realms of social media, they call it niche. So for example, if you're just sharing random contents, today you're sharing about your family, tomorrow about somehow about IT, and then makan-makan, one of your videos might go viral. This is especially for YouTube, and then they will go to your account, and then they see, oh, this guy is not his niche is not about food. It's just one random content that was interesting about food. Why should I follow somebody who's just like me? Maybe I also have some thoughts on food. So they will only follow. You can gain a following if you have one particular niche. So to build that niche needs to be consistent. If you want to talk about, let's say Quran, talk about Quran, but to make sure that it is relevant to everyone, bring talking about Quran with regards to IT one day, with regards to food one day, so that you can actually build and bridge your followers who are entirely about Quran. Now people from foodies understand, oh, there's ayat Quran regarding food. They enter, they can get new knowledge. And then you're talking about something. And then always also be alert with the current kind of trend or the current news. Today you're talking about, for example, let's say, there were these days regarding what? Let's say regarding if on social media it's about Kawin Tiga lah, about Tesla and so on. So everyone can actually also talk on certain issues, but based on their niche. So that's how you call new followers, and that's how you grow. And then you consistently share about your niche. So don't randomly share things that are not related. So to me, my TikTok is about content. It's not about my life, but sometimes I put into, if there are certain things in what is my life that can be related to my niche, boleh cerita. So it's not like Facebook, you're sharing about your life, because people don't actually care about you, but they want to know what you can actually give to them. So we might think whatever we're sharing is important because that's us. We have that, not narcissistic, but that's kind of the psychology of it. But it's different if you want to build a following, a community that you want to build. So that's the first part, the niche. And then be consistent. Consistency is very important, especially for TikTok, because of the machine learning of TikTok. They will always, the algorithm, if you engage with a certain content, social media, a video, a person engages with you by liking the video, commenting, sharing, they will get another push of your other contents that are related with that. So if you somehow just one day, you leave 1 month, that video, they have lost kind of the algorithm for people who are under the segment of liking that particular content of your video. So they have started to have other preferences. Now your videos that are in that niche somehow wouldn't go to that person again. So you lose those people. If you're consistent, they are still within that kind of the AI. So you're actually hacking the machine learning of social media. TikTok is more volatile, is more faster with regards to that. YouTube is different. So consistency is always really important. I think that's all. And just be yourself. When you're consistent, you actually improve bit by bit. And don't target for followers. Always target to provide meaning and solution to people. And if you are ikhlas, actually the followers will come. And always, but when you're stagnant, you know that something is wrong. That's when you learn about the technicalities. But always don't focus on the followers. I've never focused about the followers initially. I just wanted to try to not make change, but give something new. And alhamdulillah, I learned also the technicalities, but alhamdulillah, this is where I am now. Thank you so much.
Okay, Dr. Ashraf, last question from Prof. Mira. Okay, many people are worried to be content creator because they are worried of hater, anti-fan. How do you overcome this perception?
This is a very interesting question also, Prof. Mira. I am, if you see my personality, I am people yang mudah terasa, I take things very seriously. These are the things that is common. We would be worried. And I also have received comments in such way. And this is actually very dangerous. People, I've given contents about cyberbully and so on. There are cyberbullies, orang bunuh diri, mothers who, suicide because receive hate comments and so on. So this is real. Now, I also have seen that, and but the thing is, this is also the power of anonymity. Bullies can become anyone. They can say anything. So you professor, if you're a professor, if you are a prime minister, if you are an agong, they can actually say anything. If agong, maybe they are protected by certain rights, but us, no, there's no rights. They can say anything. That is something that you need to be ready. There is no adab in social media. But I think the thing is, it's in social media, the psyche of this teenagers, dia macam is somehow like this. You cannot koyak. Koyak is in English is a term. You cannot be emotional. Those people who actually flourish and strive in the social media are those people who are not reactive to contents, even though those contents are totally hate speech. But when they actually react with calm and then they educate, people actually will support those who are calm and provide logic. If we react emotionally, they see that, well, this is not the correct way, because they know that it is the nature of social media. They can just say anything. So sometimes just don't take it personally. If you want to respond and you think you want to educate, just respond it in a way that you provide what is the alternative education that they need to know. Not necessarily you have to say tak beradab and so on. People just don't care, because we are not catering to that person, but we are educating the people who are observing. I think that's one thing about social media. And the thing that is funny, those people who are businessmen, like if you know Alif Shukri and so on, they are living lives of controversy. The more hate, the more engagement happens. The more engagement, the algorithm pushes. AI doesn't know value. Dia tak ada adab. What they know is that more hates, whatever hate speech, whatever people share contents that are bad, it means that they push to everyone. So for people who are doing marketing, bad marketing or good marketing is still marketing. Marketing is also where you build presence, and it always converts into money. And for these people, we might not like the way I live Shukri, but when the social media is a game of numbers, quantity, it goes mass, and eventually it will find the market that accepts the way of Alif Shukri, and then they also buy the product. So it's kind of funny for social media, but you need to know the ways how to maneuver. So again, just to summarize, you cannot be emotional. This will happen, but haters will always hate, but use it as a way to educate the people who surrounding it. You might not be able to change that person, and I've always never felt of changing that person, but I always try to educate others who are looking and observing. And I think we have the adab to do that. We teach proper adab to those netizens, so-called, so how to respond and so on, inshallah. So that's my personal point of view, Prof. Mira.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ashraf. Right. So now we already come to the end of the discussion. So we have explored innovative solution and strategies that hold the promise of brighter future for our youth and the workforce. As we part ways, let's remember that education is not just the responsibility of school or teachers. It is a collective effort involving businesses, communities, and society as a whole. So together we can empower the next generation with the skills, knowledge, and resilience they need to thrive. Okay, so for the simple words, maybe we need to move to the digital education, okay, in a very good opportunity in future. All right. So before we end, can I need your help to open your camera because we need to capture this event for our records. Okay, thank you. Wait, I count until three. One, two, three. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Okay, so I want to thanks to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Ashraf, our engaged audience, and everyone who has joined us today. So let's keep working together to make a difference in the life of our youth and the future of learning. And we end our program by reciting Tasbih Farah and Suratul As. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.